Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Tefillah Shuir. My name is R Yehudah Schwartz, and it's been a pleasure and honor to now be doing this shiur for this now our 8th week of doing this shiur. We have done so far 14 shiurim in this area of Kedushas, davening, coming to shul on time, not walking in shul, etc. We have elaborated this so many times already in different ways, whether it's a Shulchan Aruch, whether it's a Chaim Kayaski, and it's filled with meaning, which we're going to mention do tonight. Yes, this is being recorded Monday night. Today was the Yortzeit of Shuir ben Moshe, and his brother was buried where I live in New York, and he's buried in Staten Island. So we're not there today to daven by his kever, and also put out his gets. Should miskabel all the tefillahs, whether you're here or in Kerstir. Also, like to welcome all the members of this amazing journey, which hopefully we can continue to spread the word of Hilchos Tefillah is really important. So I wanted to throw out one halacha on that is related to Tefillah. I'm not going to go into the details of Tefillin so much, but I did want to actually talk about for like a minute or so, or not too long, about those who are taking off their Tefillins by after Asher Zion, or let's say towards the end of davening. So I actually was thinking to myself, which makes more sense? Should we take off? Should we take off the tefillin after Elena, after the last Kaddish, or should we rather take off after Zion? So a little side halacha I'm going to talk about now helps clarify according to Shulchan Aruch. According to the Mishnah Brewers, that's a different story. He talks about that you're better off taking off the tefillin after the last Kaddish, after Elena. So I'll read this quickly, and then we'll go back to the regular. We're up to in our share. This is actually in Hilchos Tefillin, Siman Yud Sif Yutes. Ein lachalitz as a tefillin al achar kedushes v'Zion. One should not remove his tefillin until after kedusha of Zion, meaning Kaddish Shalom, in other words. Kishoymi yotzei shishmach chikecho, when it says yotzayin shishmach chikecho, may it be a will that we observe your decrees. In those places where the custom is that a Sefer Torah is being read, and as a Sefer Torah is now returned to the ark at Achar Kedusha of Zion, to the after Kedusha of Zion. Minig Hasvad, by the way, this is Minig Hasvad, not Minig Ashkenaz. The tefillin is now removed. Actually, as Sefer Torah lahechel, till Sefer Torah is returned to the ark. Similar davar, allusion to this halacha can be seen in the pasuk in Micha. Vayavoy malkol nefneim v'Hashem b'Rasham. The king will pass before them and Hashem on their head. The king refers to the Sefer Torah. Hashem at that head is a reference to tefillin, upon which is embossed the shin in the name of Hashem. Thus, when the king pauses before them, the tefillin should still be in their heads. The day was actually there's a bris milah in shul, and the tefillin should not be removed until after the bris. It means after the kaddish precedes the minister of. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, I skipped here. Sorry. 99. Both the tefillin and the circumcision are referred to as an Isis sign of the relationship between Hashem and the Jewish people. It is therefore fitting to have the sign of tefillin upon us when the sign of the circumcision is being performed. Now, Rosh Chodesh, Cholzen Kohen Tefillas Musaf. The tefillin is removed before we say Musaf, which means, by the way, after Kaddish and not before. But for the Chol Moed, for those who put on tefillin on Chol Moed, Ashkenaz, in other words, Kum Chotzin, Kum Halal. Everyone removes the tefillin before Halal. Why? Because the tefillin removed before Halal, which signifies the special holiness of the day. Those who remove the tefillin during the Chazin's Chazal Shatz of the Shemasa must take care to listen to the Chazal Shatz as they're taking it off. Chol Mai Pesach, HaTzibur Cholzen Kaim Halal. The whole tzibur moves the tefillin before halal. Shech tzibur acha halal, but shech tzibur goes after halal. Now, it explains here is on Sukkot, the Chazan has time to remove his tefillin before halal, as the tzibur prepares their sorghum and lovim halal. But on Pesach, when the Chazan must begin halal right away upon concluding the Chazal Shatz, he removes the tefillin after halal. But Mishabur adds, with regard to these halachas, that one should never behave differently than the tzibur with whom he is praying. So, in other words, most of us today, pretty much everyone takes out the tefillin before halal. I'm not sure about when it comes to Ashkenaz shuls, but I know in the Sfard shuls, that's the minhag. Anyway, so put the Torah out there, and now we continue to the regular. We're up to now. Siman Yud Gimel. Dinei Knesses Beis Medrash. What's this now? The dinim regarding the sanctity of the shul and the Beis Medrash. There's 5 seifim. We'll do 2 this week and 3 next week. That's Hashem. Kedushas Beis Knesses Beis Medrash Gedolah Miyoid. The sanctity of a shul and a study hall. Gedolah Miyoid is very great. Why? In earlier times, the basic Knesses was used for davening and Beis Medrash only for learning Torah. And we are cautioned regarding them. The Lira b'mishi sherchem b'mizbach shemoy, conducting ourselves in them with the reverence to the one who dwells inside them. Hashem, may His name be blessed. Yosef says in Pasuk in Vayikra, in Migdash Torah, in my sanctuary shall refer. Which means it's a synagogue and a study hall. Nekrim Gam Kem Mikdash is also referred to as a Mikdash sanctuary. It says in Chaskel, Vehi lehem Mikdash Ma'at. Yet I have been for them a small Mikdash, which means in the full pasuk says like this in Chaskel. It says, L'chayk emay koyma Hashem Elokim. Ki echaktem begoyim chi hafitzosem me'rotzos v'ileh mikdash shema'ah be'rotzos asher bo yisham. Therefore say, thus says Hashem Elokim, though I have removed the Jewish people from far away among the nations, and though I have scattered them among the lands, yet I have been for them a small mikdash in the lands where they have arrived. Hashem ensures that the Navi Cheskel, that although the Jewish people who have been sent to exile and will no longer have access to the Shekhinah that rests in the sanctuary of Yerushalayim, He will rest his presence among them in a small mikdash that we have today in Golus. Weiter, Tashinan, and we also, it says in Megillah regarding to a small mikdash. These are the shuls and the study halls, meaning the Beis Medrash. Meaning the shuls or study halls are miniature sanctuaries in which the Shekhinah is found. Therefore, it is forbidden to engage in idle chatter with them, which means that any conversation that is not related to mitzvah is an idle talk. Certainly, old jesting and mockery and empty conversations are also forbidden. According to Shulchan Aruch and Mishabura, Chaim 151:1 and Mishabura as well. See also Mishabura at length regarding the severity of the sin of forbidden speech as a slander, quarreling, which is intensified when it occurs in these places. One may not make calculations inside them. That means even calculations affecting the community. Elosha mitzvah, only for mitzvah only. Such as those kupat tzedakah or something similar to that. And the hagim b'hem kovod, the buildings are to be maintained in a dignified manner. The chabdam l'rabtzam, to be swept and to ensure that the earthen floors to be flattened down by sprinkling them with water. And we must light candles to them as a mark of honor. Now, it says here, there's examples of how cleanliness is maintained in a building with an earth floor, as it was common in those times. But in today's times, shuls and studios must be maintained according to the methods appropriate for them. Also, it's a minhag to pour a light in the shul even before the first person comes into daven, according to the Mishnah Berurah. Also, next, continue. Now comes in the Shulchan Aruch, says something fascinating. This is for fathers who have their sons, to come to sons to shul. Then we're not allowed to kiss our children. Why? Because it's not proper, not covered for Hashem. Why don't you not kiss his young children in these sanctuaries? Because it's not proper to show there any other love. Zulas. Except for the love of Hashem, may his name be blessed. Wow. Even little kids. You can't kiss little kids either in shul. One more Sif base. Prior to going to the shul or a bes medrash, one must wipe off the mud from his feet and make sure that he does not have in his person or on his garments any dirt, any dirt. Don't go. Just like when you go to a king or to a president, you wouldn't go like a shlump to a shul or a dirty shirt, dirty hat. So too, when you come to the bes medrash, even more so, you come to bes medrash clean, not dirty shoes. Winter time especially, it's very hard after snowstorms or during a snowstorm. You're walking into a shul, it's wet, it happens, but it's our job to clean it up afterwards. If one feels the need to, is permitted to spit on the floor in these sanctuaries. Says the go over here is the goes over here. However, as a measure of piety, one should not spit in the shul. But however, Shar HaTzion, which states that for one who will not spit in his own home, it may be forbidden for halacha to spit in the shul also. Now, and he finish off is how he must immediately rub his spittle into the ground with his feet. And we'll continue with this next week. Now we continue with the Tefillah with meaning. Sefer. We're going to focus today on the entire chapter 4. It's a short chapter. Not a lot. And we'll end our shiur after this. Please, in the meantime, spread the word about this shiur. 40 minutes a week. 20 minutes today. And 20 minutes next year. 40 minutes a week. It's going over the halachas and hashkafas of Hilchas Tefillah. Very, very important. Now, this chapter by R Yehudah Schwartz was gracious enough to let me read his sefer and it's called Tefillah with meaning. Chapter 4, Hashem desires the Tefillah Tzadikim. The Gemara says that the reason why our forefathers didn't have kids because Hashem desires the Tefillah of Tzadikim. And Bereshit Rabbah, for discussion of our forefathers were never to have kids. See the Michtav. Our forefathers did not sin and were held back from having children since Hashem wanted their tefillahs. So how do we understand this? Tzaddikim daven all day, and when the others even established the 3 daily tefillahs, the Shachas Mincha Maariv, what then does it mean that Hashem desires their tefillahs? So it explains now Hashem's true desire. Although Hashem desires the tefillahs of tzaddikim, this does not mean they are consigned to a life of misery. In most cases, tzaddikim are quite happy in this world. They live wisely and are more capable of enjoying Amazed than others. Hashem bestows blessings upon them. But however, even good people sometimes have to experience some distress, which causes them to grow in emunah. The pain they undergo brings about the greatest benefit. Becoming more and more aware of Hashem in this world is the highest achievement. This is why Hashem desires for His righteous ones, as Avigdor Miller mentions in Tefillah. Some commentators explain that the reason why Hashem wants the Tefillah of tzaddikim is because they are accustomed to davening only for the nation and not for themselves, since they are happy with what they have. As mentioned in one of the other shiurim also, the main purpose of Tefillah is not for Hashem's benefit, but for our benefit. We daven to make sure we are adequately prepared to accept Hashem's bounty. If they always wanted a child, they had to make themselves able to accept the child from Hashem, especially on their level. When the Gemara says that Hashem desires the Tefillah of tzaddikim, it's not because He has a desire for the prayer itself. Rather, the intent is for the tzaddik to daven so he can grow and then accept the bounty from Hashem. And now, it says also in Tzedakah HaTzadik, which mentions that it's so easy to lose focus on a connection with Hashem. Therefore, Hashem causes a person to daven to strengthen his trust in Him. In addition, the sadness of being childless caused these tzaddikim to engage in more prayer, which enabled them to have more emunah in Hashem. This is comparable to pressing grapes. Pressing a good grape produces an excellent grape juice. However, since more juice is desired after pressing grapes by hand, they are put in a machine so every last drop will come out. The harvest prayed even without pressure, but Hashem put pressure on them to get them to pray even more fervently. This thus allowing them to teach higher levels of emunah. Thus allowing them to reach higher levels of emunah and receive Hashem's blessing, according to R Yehudah Miller and Tefillah. And we'll end off with the Tefillah of the Amoris. Yiddushis Levi in Bereshis says that Leah was not barren, although Amoris were barren. This is because Leah davened excessively so she should not marry Esav. Since she davened so much already, there was no need for her to make her barren, so she would daven more. The Shach says that the reason that Amoris were barren was so they should daven and become different people. This meant that Rivka would no longer be Rivka, the daughter of Besuel, but a different Rivka altogether. Now, Sefer Dibas Tzvi in Yivamis, which we explains that Rivka should have been answered, although she came from wicked stock, since she turned herself around. This was done to the children of Klal Yisrael will not have any defect. This is the reason why Avram's and Sarah's names were changed. It was to illustrate that they were not the same Avram and Sarah, who were barren and according to nature unable to give birth. The Amoris were barren because they came from wicked people. They therefore had to daven so they would become different people. Avram was also barren because he came from Terach. However, Yitzchak and Yaakov were not barren since they did not come from wicked parents. But once the Amoris and Avram davened and became different people, they were able to give birth to Klal Yisrael. Unbelievable words from Rabbi Leibowitz. Now, Baruch Hashem, let's continue to push, to daven properly in shul, and to take this more to heart. Let's also try to expand on this, talking about in yeshivas, and get the principles, the manalim, the Rosh Yeshivas, to talk more about in Tefillah, and showing them the importance of davening. And we should have Kol Mil Lemitav. Have a wonderful day.